What's golden, y'all? It's Brian and Fearless back with another episode of Trial and Error. We took a little bit of a hiatus last week. I was out handling some business
So was
out in the
I.
world. And so sometimes life happens and you gotta handle the BI. And so that's kind of what it was. Um, we're back with another episode, and we're kind of locked into this kind of a little bit of self-development stuff. But I think a lot of this came from, remember that conversation we had about the 48 laws of power, and this is one of the ones that we got hung up on, was playing all the way to the end. And so that's what today's episode is. It's the myth of the perfect plan. And so for those that don't know, my name is Brian. I own a video marketing agency that wants to teach business owners how to create their own content to further their business, because it's a big, huge opportunity that a lot of people are missing. It's called the Media Room. And that's really where we're at right now. I'm looking to get some clients who want to learn how to start recording themselves and get out there.
Yep, and I'm fearless. I'm the philosopher.
So
ideal in perspective.
And so that's the link for the Media Room. If you guys are interested, there's a couple of assessments you can take at the beginning to get things rolling. And I'm going to drop Fearless's stand store. You still got stand store, right?
Nope. Got rid of it.
So we're not going to drop Fearless's stand store up there.
Nope.
So anyway, y'all, today's challenge, and I think one of the myths that we fall into is people get hung up in this planning phase where they have a big, huge idea, big, huge thing that they want to execute, right? The big hairy monster in the corner that they want to slay. And we've kind of conditioned ourselves to, perfect, was it the 5 P's, perfect planning prevents poor execute, or, whatever, perfect planning prevents poor execution or whatever. Anyway, I think we have kind of created this culture where, since we got unlimited access to information, you get stuck in a planning loop forever. And a lot of times people think that they're going to, when they embark on something new, they're going to be able to have a plan for every single eventuality. And unfortunately, that's not how big, huge ventures work. That's not how big, huge, audacious things actually work.
Right.
A lot of times plans don't really survive that first contact with execution intact. Sometimes part of the plan may work. You're going to have to go back to the drawing board or other parts of it. And so the moment you start, all those variables start to extract themselves and disappear, and new variables pop in. And so that's kind of what the theme of this episode is. And so that's what we're going to talk about, whether it be in your interpersonal life or whether you're doing something that, governmental or something along those lines. So that's kind of where we're at today. Looks like we already got comments, do we?
I think that was already there before.
Oh, yeah, that's already there. So anyway.
But, I like this one, though, because I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday about planning things all the way out before you even start.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, that's, whenever you write out a plan, it better be in pencil.
Yeah.
Don't write your stuff in pen, because you don't know what you don't know yet. And you're not going to, and what works today may not work tomorrow.
Yeah.
And what didn't work today may work tomorrow. So again, whatever your plans are, write them in pencil.
Mm-hmm.
Do not write them in pen.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, get started.
Yep.
Because you're not going to know until you start.
And I think that's kind of that's going to be the theme of this. A lot of things that you want to try or attempt, the real data doesn't come from sitting down and thinking about it and planning it out and writing it out. The real data goes out from executing the thing and learning the lesson that the execution of the thing teaches you. And a lot of times people are scared, and we talk about it. Fearless and I have talked about plenty of times. People are scared of that first time reality rebuffs you and pushes back against what you've planned. And they end up running away from it completely, as opposed to leaning in and saying, okay, so this was the lesson that this thing taught me. And so this is how I incorporate it into the next action that I'm going to take. Because you don't need to go all the way back to the drawing board. Sometimes you just need to scratch out something.
And you know what? And that's literally what I've done before, is that I would ask myself, if I had to start tomorrow, what would I need to start? What would I, or if I had to start in 1 week, do I have everything that I need to at least get started? And it's either a yes or a no,
Mm-hmm.
because the rest of it will come later. You just need to be concerned about, can I start in 1 week?
Right.
What do I need to get started? That's it. And sometimes I promise you, what you need to get started, you already got.
Right.
You already have it. So just start and figure the rest out while you go. You know,
Well,
that's what I would tell people.
And even if you succeed in the plan, that doesn't mean that you're at the end of the road. And it's kind of an insidious thing I'm throwing out there. But for those that don't know, Palantir, the big spy agency that the U.S. government employs to track all the data and everything, that's directly linked to PayPal, because Peter Thiel took the algorithm PayPal uses to determine fraud. It's a predictive algorithm. And it's really good at what it does. And he said, what if we had just applied this to all data and made it an intelligence company kind of thing? And so for almost a decade now, a lot of police forces have been using Palantir's algorithm kind of as this, and it's Minority Report. Have you ever seen the movie Minority Report, where they took the PayPal algorithm that is used to determine fraud, and they applied it in other places. And so a lot of police forces use it to kind of predict crime. They'll even apply it to databases of people with records to see who's likely to reoffend. And so that's how they've taken this thing that had its own life and still continues to have its own life. And they said, how can we repurpose this? When they first started it, that was not the plan. The plan was to find a way to change the way that people you paid for things online. But now it's the biggest intelligence gathering thing in the world. And what it does is it does really good at extracting and coming up. Supposedly, it does really good at extracting data, figuring out trend lines from massive pools of data. And so you combine that with the fact that the government's kind of eternal contract with Oracle, who does databases where they collect all that data and stuff, and you got a perfect marriage of surveillance. And that's kind of what happened. But when they first started it, the plan was not to create Minority Report. It just became Minority Report. So I mean, that's how plans can change.
Right, but that's also planning everything out all the way out. You know what I'm saying? Like we were talking about before with the 48 laws of power, planning everything out. So to us, it may not have appeared that way, but to somebody else, they saw enough to be able to map out what this thing could do and what it would do.
Well,
be light years before it did it. Just like technology. What are we like every time something new comes out, isn't it like the general public is what 5-10 years behind?
Well,
whatever. Like I remember back in the 90s, 96, 97, they already had, in like China, they already had phones where they can see each other. They have video chatting back then.
Yeah.
They have phones that we don't even have over here. You know what I'm saying? So, again, culture, timing, government.
Well, in this specific case, it was kind of an adjustment to the market, because they had other competitors emerging and stuff like that. And so, specifically, David mentioned, the CEO mentioned, that's kind of what it was. It was kind of calling an audible and saying, "What else can we apply this algorithm to?" You know, and it was the perfect marriage of this guy who was really obsessed about surveillance and security and all this other stuff, with this algorithm that existed where it can predict human behavior. And so, or it can try to predict human behavior. And so that's what it was. It was kind of they called it audible and say, what else can we apply this to? And kind of pivoted a little bit. And it's calling it midstream. Like, if they would have just said, this is what we do, this is what we planned all the way to the end, and this is what PayPal is going to be, it would have, I don't know if that company would ever existed. But I think that's kind of what it was. Sometimes, you plan all the way to the end, and then you see the finish line, and you still gotta make an adjustment.
Right.
So the biggest thing we're trying to get you guys to understand is, more times than not, your plans, especially if it's something you've never done before, when you've done something before and you've experienced it before, you have a little bit more bandwidth to plan a little bit further ahead. But if it's something you've never done before, it's your first time encountering the thing that's going to teach you the most is execution. You can't find a lot of this stuff online. A lot of the information isn't going to be found in stuff that you find online, because, again, like Fearless said, you never know what variables this person that you're watching and trying to duplicate from, you don't know what variables they encountered that changed the flow and the engineer their success. Their variables could be completely different than yours, and you're not aware of it until you start getting into because it could be even a time thing. Right now the economy is not right for the idea that would have been brilliant 2 years ago or 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes, again, we fall in love with this idea of, and a lot, you see it in the movies, right? Like in the movies, the hero, Ocean's 11 is a perfect example, right? In Ocean's 11, the plan just fires off and everything kind of goes the way he saw it from the beginning. That's not real. That's a movie. And even then,
Right.
sometimes things get snafu'd in the movie. But I think we have this romanticized idea of how smart people plan, and it's not really that. Smart people can adjust faster.
Right.
They can they can see tailwinds coming up and adjust for them.
Yeah. So I like the second one that we have, which asks the question why people love perfect plans.
Yep.
And it's a sense of control, a sense of clarity, as well as a sense of safety. And then you put that you feel like you're making progress without risk.
Mm-hmm.
Planning can become a substitute for action. And I've seen that a lot with people where they're like, no, we need to plan for this and the other. There's stuff that's going to happen in business and in life that you don't see coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that old adage, adapt or die type shit. And again, it's not that you're planning for it. It's just that you have to adapt to it. You don't know what's going to happen, especially when it comes to business. It's like, when we first started our bookstore, first month, we were rocking and rolling, doing great because it was a novelty. It was new. Then what happens when it becomes a sense of normalcy?
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay motivated? How do you stay disciplined? How do you stay inspired when you had successes in the beginning and then it starts to taper off?
Mm-hmm.
So again, you can plan for stuff, but like we said in the first part, you have to actually do what you're talking about. Bookstores, and you can go ask any of them. There's only a few places that survive off of selling books alone. It is not many
Mm-hmm.
that survive off just books. You need to have millions of books coming in to survive just selling books and that's it. You need to have a bunch of people who know about you, who are buying books from you constantly in order for you to survive.
Right.
If and then depending on how much your rent is, utilities, this and the other, if you talk to most bookstores, they will tell you that games, CDs, pen and pads, journals, book lights, coffee, like there's a bunch of other things that they sell that keep the lights on. Most of the time, books don't do it because they get such a low percentage
Mm-hmm.
of it. That's why somebody like Barnes and Nobles charges almost double than Amazon does.
Yeah.
Amazon, for the most part, sells it to you at cost. Book of the Month Club, which I'm a member of,
Mm-hmm.
you can get books there. I pay a $15, maybe $16 a month subscription fee, and that gives you one book. And then you can get 4 other books for like $10 each.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I spend $50 with them. Technically, I spend probably almost $70 with them every month. And that's with the subscription.
Right.
You know what I mean? So again, they found their niche that just works for them. So when you have a bookstore, it's not that you're not gonna make it. It's that you have to have other stuff going
Mm-hmm.
that brings in revenue. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, so again, you gotta plan. Excuse me, but you also have to plan for when if your plan don't work.
Right.
You
And,
know,
and
and
so
sometimes it's not going to.
because I'm there's something I'm gonna talk to you about after that because I something parallel that's gonna be off it's gonna be off air.
Mhm.
But it does align with this concept of because I've done about run 6 figures in ads for people, right? Like in terms of they pay and I create the ad and then we post on, we create the ad for Google or Facebook or whatnot. And one of the things you find out is and this is why a monthly recurring model is difficult when you run a marketing agency. You get paid a monthly retainer, right? In the first month, when when you're working with your client, they double what they're making, right? And they're blown away, like, oh man, this is great. This is worth it. Everything. Cool. Second month, you may 1.5 exit. So it's not as big, but it's still more than when they started. Okay. Third month, you may, the growth slows a little bit, but it's steady. The thing that they're comparing you against is your first month.
Hmm.
And so you might have taken them incrementally from, collectively, if you would have had this entire contract, you would have taken them from where they were to 10x, right? But since each month is going to have smaller and smaller growth, eventually it's going to turn into where they're looking at it and saying, okay, well, it's not working the same way. And you can point to this entire thing like we're doing 10 times better, but they're like, but last month, I mean, it wasn't, it looks like it's slowing down. Well, it's really not,
Hmm.
it's still 10 times bigger, but the look back window is a lot smaller when you're going month to month. And so oftentimes if you can take out the idea of they're tracking it by month, by they're looking at it by quarter or by year. They're going to see, okay, from this point last year to this point this year, I'm up 10%. I'm up 10 times. Wow, that's impressive. Let's do it again. And so that's what happens with a lot of marketing agencies, because you get stuck with the monthly retainer kind of model, because that's what the industry does. But incremental process is punished, not rewarded. And sometimes even if you come in and make a big, huge splash, it's not enough at the beginning, because we end up getting sucked in. Like, people are living in the present. Now, like, they're not going to live in the past. They're not going to live in the future. They're looking at the right now, the window that exists right now. Within this window right now, we went from having 2 or 3x to 1.5x. Things are slowing down. Even though, I mean, you're up 5x at the end of the day.
All right. I like what Christopher just said here. He said first month honeymoon, in my opinion, doesn't count as success. Rest of the months, they need to be. It's the rest of the months they need to be concerned with. I agree. Mm-hmm. I mean, anything that you just start off or whatever, yeah, it's gonna go gangbusters, man. Depending on what it is, because again, it's something new. Mm-hmm. Just like most restaurants, you first open, that place is going to be packed. Mm-hmm. It's going to be packed, but here's the thing. Your food can be shitty and still be packed.
Yeah.
Will you still be around? Is it still going to be as packed in 6 months? Is it still going to be as packed in a year?
Yeah. That's the question.
Is your DoorDash going to be popping constantly?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Is Grubhub for you going to be popping at 3 months and 6 months? Like I said, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So your food can suck. And that first month, people are going to flock to you. And then it's probably for the first 3 months, they'll flock to you. And then the word's going to get out that your food sucks.
Right.
And at first you were taking reservations. Now you begging people, giving them coupons and shit to come to eat at your nasty ass establishment.
Well, it's better. Here's what I'll say. I think that it's worse to actually have an inconsistent experience, where sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Or sometimes that first time you go in is bad, and then next time you go in it's actually good, and then next time you go in it's all right, and then it's kind of hovering around bad.
Yep.
People, when they go to restaurants specifically, they pay for a consistent experience. They want to know that the dish they ordered is going to be the same every single time. There's a place out in Village Point that we used to go to. It's called
McDonald's,
yeah.
Burger King,
yeah,
Hardee's, Sonic, even IHOP, mm-hmm. even Applebee's. Tastes the same every time you go.
Yeah.
Every time.
There's a place called Mimi's Cafe up in Village Point. And my wife and I used to go there. And the breakfast was amazing. They had good gumbo and stuff like that. Like, they would have these little items that were really good. And it got to the point where it's like, this is what we order when we go in there. And slowly but surely, the pancakes got smaller. And they changed texture. The gumbo wasn't hitting the same way. I got a chicken fried steak, and the wrapper was still attached to it and deep fried with it. And slowly but surely, so they changed. I think that what they did was they probably changed their food distributor or whatnot, because a lot of these restaurants all use the same food suppliers, right? And so they changed the food supplier. And they stopped scratch making some stuff that they had previously scratch made, started ordering it. Typically comes from like Cisco or something like that. And there was a noticeable drop off in the quality of the food, but the price of the food was still the same price. And you know, things started not tasting the same. Sundays you go, my wife used to like going for the mimosas, and the mimosas even started tasting different. And eventually we're like, yeah, this used to be our favorite spot. Now we can't even get excited to go to this place. And we slowly stopped going. And then one day we go back, we drive by and it's closed.
Yeah.
And every time we went in there, it was packed. But people got their favorite dishes, and their favorite dishes slowly started to change. And that was kind of the death kiss, because it was an inconsistent experience, because it wasn't bad every single time. It was just different every single time we went in after the first couple of years. And I think people will punish, especially in a place where they go in and looking for that same thing. You know, that's why Chick-fil-A don't let they restaurants. If you are a Chick-fil-A franchisee, you are a owner operator. You in there every single day, making sure that food comes out the same way every single time. You know, McDonald's was trying to tighten that up a little bit. Subway, I don't know, you know, they had some really tight controls over how they do their franchising and stuff. You know, for whatever reason, Subway, your sandwich always has to be varying degrees of wet, no matter what you go to. Sandwich always has to be kind of wet, bro.
It's funny.
When
It's like your food has to have some variation of being wet.
Like it has to have that Subway sandwich, and I think they probably tell in the we're about to get sued. They probably tell the franchisors like, hey, so when you give a Subway, our customer's expectation is when they open up that sandwich and unwrap it, it's wet for some reason. It's just kind of wet.
The bread is dry as fuck, but the sandwich needs to be wet.
Yeah, the bread is dry, but the sandwich is wet and dry at the same time. Where they do that at? It's wet and dry at the same time. And so, but that's my consistent experience with Subway. That's why I don't go to Subway.
That's why I don't go to Subway. Me neither.
You know,
no. You know that now that you're talking about that, so there's a couple places to me that fit those examples that you said. First one is here in Bellevue. Remember Sinful Burger?
Yeah.
They fit that. They had these wings that were so good. So good. And remember when they closed for a little bit and then somebody bought them out? They brought their wings back, but they were like hot wings this time. I'm like, no, I just want just the regular wings. They're like, this is how they come now. So then I just stopped going there.
Yeah, that's how we
and
order.
Then their food was just gross in general. And then another place that was always hit and miss was Julio's over on 90th.
Yeah, we used to go there, and it was
always hit and miss.
Well, it's like, was it you that we were talking about this, where there's a Taco Bell out there that they kept all of the old recipes from the 80s and 90s. The same formulations, the same way it used to taste. They kept that, and then they just kind of spun off from the regular franchise. And so maybe it's in Texas somewhere, but it's the OG Taco Bell that people remember from the 80s and 90s with the same food. Because I tell my son likes Taco Bell for some reason, and I'll take him there. And I'll get some, every once in a while, I'm like, okay, I'm hungry. I don't want to go anywhere else. I'll grab something here, and I bite into it. Like, this is not what I remember at all. This doesn't align. Like this don't align with my expectations. And I think that's what happened, where people, like, you have a certain expectation, and the food, the flavor changes, and the what you're offering, the service you're getting, it's changed, and they don't hit the same. And oftentimes that comes with, not being able, because here's the thing, and it ties back to the planning thing, because not being able to adjust on the fly and being forced to do things that the market dictates, because you're locked into a specific way of thinking, specific way of doing things. I'm pretty sure that that's what happened with that cafe I was talking about, because they went from having stuff that you can kind of tell was scratch made. They kind of made some stuff, and then every restaurant's going to have their mix of stuff that they buy. Like, you're rarely going to find mozzarella sticks that taste different than anybody else's mozzarella sticks because they all get them from the same place, right? But there are things where you can tell it's a little bit more packaged. It's a little bit less seasoned or whatnot, and I'm paying the same, but it feels like they weren't able to adjust to the market changes to keep the same quality, to maintain the same quality, and so they had to adjust. And more times than not, that comes from having a plan that you can't, like, okay, what if things slow down? How do I pivot off of this and maintain the same quality?
Yeah. 14.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's pretty awful too.
Oh my gosh, man. Subway where pedals eat.
Yeah, they moved. Jared did a lot of damage to the brand.
Oh my god.
So maybe that's why they made
wait and start banging kids.
Maybe that's why maybe if they said if we make the sandwiches wet enough, they'll forget about talking about Jared and start talking about how the sandwiches
talking about Jared.
How weird the sandwiches are.
Isn't he getting out of jail sometime soon?
I don't know. I don't keep
look it up.
I don't keep up with Jared from Subway. So
oh man.
Let me jump back to where we were. So a lot of times the plans, while Fearless looks it up, plans like they give people this sense of control over uncertainty, right? It makes you feel safe when you're doing something that's unsafe. You feel like you're making progress without risk, like Fearless said. And I'll be honest with you, it's easier to plan than it actually is to execute, because execution, going out and executing the thing, is kind of where the rubber meets the road. That's the litmus test. Can my plan survive me executing on the plan? And more times than not, if the plan doesn't, people end up getting discouraged, and that's when they end up throwing in the towel. Where actually it's kind of where you need to double down. Okay, this thing didn't work. What did I learn from it? Okay, let's try spinning it this way.
Okay.
And so, but people think it's safer to think than it is to actually try the thing. When I first turned on the camera, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just kept doing it until it made sense. And a lot of people never get past that. I look crazy on camera. The lights are off and the lighting's off and all this other stuff. They never get past that first part of not knowing what to say or not looking the way they expect or even hearing their own voice for the first time back. And that's where they end up giving up, as opposed to saying, okay, let's lean into this. Let's lean into it a little bit. So what'd you find out about Jared?
Hold on. He got 15 years. I don't know if it's state or.
It should have thrown.
No.
Should have thrown him in there.
This is Fed.
Yeah, should have thrown him in there with Fleece Johnson.
I want you.
Yeah,
get you.
Pack Jared all the way up, bro. I think Fleece is out though.
Yes.
Out terrorizing the streets, bro. Hopefully he's got his stuff together and he's kind of reintegrated in society. But what I saw when I first saw that dude on lockup, it was so wild. Like, never let this man out amongst the rest of us. We ain't safe. If he's out, I'm happy for the brother. Let's keep everybody safe out in the community. And
all right, now he gets out in 3 years.
All right, so let's pack up Jared when he gets out too. Watch if you think watch where's he at in Florida?
No, Colorado.
All right, Colorado. Once Jared hits the street,
yeah, no, he got state.
Once Colorado,
hold on.
Once Jared hits the streets, from Subway, just be aware.
No, never mind. He got federal.
Okay.
For that, so he has to serve at least 85% of his time. So yeah, he gets out in, when does he get out? March 24th of 2029.
Yep, let's mark your calendars.
And he's gonna be on a registry followed by a lifetime of supervised release.
Yep. So just be aware. Mark your calendars. Jared's going to be out here
Jared
in
will
these
be
streets.
out
Jared Fogle will be out in these streets.
March 24th, 2029.
Uh-huh.
2029, ladies and gentlemen. He will be home causing havoc.
Protect yourself. Protect your loved ones.
Stop playing out here.
Yeah. Let's get Jared. Let's pack Jared up again. So anyway, with reality, what happens when reality hits? So reality will fall on, like if you plan something, and Fearless, you've been in this boat, I've been in this seat. You sit down there, you come up with the perfect plan, like, oh yeah, this is what's gonna be, blah, blah, blah. It looks rock solid, right? And the reality just falls on top of you like a house. Like it just collapses on top of you. And so a lot of times when reality hits you, introduces problems that you didn't plan for. I've encountered that. I've lived that. I've lived that. It introduces new time constraints, weird demands of your time. You know, the 80-20 rule sounds great on paper until you physically are stuck doing the 80% of things that do not generate the money for you, and you can't outsource them, and you don't have the time to get to the 20%. And I think oftentimes business owners get jammed up in it, but you get jammed up in it when you take on anything, marriage, kids, buying a house. You have an idea of what this thing is going to look like, and you get in it ain't the same thing.
Right.
People think they're going to do the old boy from Count of Monte Cristo and plan it 20 years in advance, plan your execution and plan the what happens, and it don't work like that.
Yeah. Not at all.
You know.
And then it's like you don't recognize this dude.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Out of here.
Well, and again, like I said, can your plan survive reality? That's the biggest litmus test, I think. And I think that's the one that we don't ask enough. You know, I think we burden kids with that too. Like when they're going to high school and decide that they want to go to college, and then instantly, what's the first thing you ask them? When we meet a kid that's in college, what's the first thing you ask them? What you going to school for? I'm guilty of it. And if you ask me in my freshman year what I was going to school for, I would say, well, I'm on an engineering scholarship, and so I'm going to school for construction engineering. If you ask me my second year, I'm a journalism major, and I take a bunch of sociology classes too. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of, I'm looking at broadcast journalism. Now, if you ask me after I dropped out with like maybe one or two electives to go and started working, and then I went back to school, what are you going to school for? Listen, I'm just going to school. I'm just trying to get my degree so I can get this promotion. And so it's going to be in human and social services admin. And so it depends on it, but more times than not, we burden kids with the higher education thing. What are you going to school for? And then they say it, and then they feel like they're trapped in that box. Because there are a lot of people that they got jobs that have a damn thing to do with their degree. They have entire careers that have nothing to do with their degree. Or they got a degree and they didn't imagine where the career would take them. There's a lot of people that are, they engineer boxes and containers and stuff who have art majors, and they never thought that they would land in a sweet gig like that, but that's where their art major took them. So well, I guess my take is, my question is, where does this obsession with planning come from?
I don't know, man. I mean, we've always done it from even people that, even in the Stone Age, man, they used to draw a bison and elephants. Not elephants. We are actually no. What are those big elephants?
Oh, mammoths.
Mammoths, deer, elk, bears. They used to draw them out on the walls and picture themselves shooting it. You know what I'm saying? So they were always planned. So we've always had a plan. I think that this is probably like one of the, I don't want to say first times, but at least that I can think of, where we plan for the future.
Right.
Because, and it's not even about survival. Like, survival is just, it's a given.
Right.
That's the reason why you're planning for what could happen, what's going to happen, what you want out of your life. And I think another part of it is comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, and comparing yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's, I try not to do that.
Uh-huh.
Like, I really do, because that sucks. You know what
I,
I'm saying? I mean, especially if somebody is doing way better than you.
I think that's a natural human condition too, and you're fighting against it. But you're right, that planning will rob you of your. I mean, that not planning, but that comparison will rob you of your joy. Um, I had a conversation with a young man right now who's out there, he's killing it right now, right? But he's like, I see all these people that are my age on social media and stuff, flashing the money and the big houses and cars and everything. It's like, what am I doing wrong? It's like, you're not doing anything wrong.
No,
They are
not at all.
they're presenting a life to you that doesn't exist. You know, they ain't telling you that they cleared out the entire bank account to go on that vacation, and they're going to take a bajillion pictures and just post them throughout the year to make it look like they're in and out of the country all the time.
Or they're paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
and they only one paycheck away from losing everything.
They had or they bought that big fake wad of money, right? To flash, or they're renting this car. What was it? The thing I saw earlier today, they were talking about Brokechella, the real side of Coachella, where you see the celebrity side and influencer side of Coachella, where they doing it up, but then they show what the regular people is doing in Coachella, and it don't look the same. The regular what regular folk doing in Coachella don't look the same as what influencers are doing,
What
because
do
they
you
ain't got
mean?
so they don't have the suites and the nice places to sit and watch the concert and everything. They having to walk they having to walk miles to go get a ham and cheese sandwich, and they have to shower. They have the community showers or whatnot. You got to wait in line to shower and use the restroom, and all kinds of other stuff. Um, so that you say you have the Coachella experience. Them influencers ain't doing that, bro. They got a
Hmm.
restroom booked out. If they need to go to the restroom, they do. They probably have their own little suite if they need to shower and bathe. They probably get
Hmm.
some food catered and stuff. They ain't experiencing Coachella the way that they present, the way that everybody thinks it's one way because they see the influencers doing it, but that's their experience. Reality is regular people who make up the bulk audience of that festival are having to go through some things in order to enjoy the festival.
How do they get there? Like, is it like a big Woodstock type
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, it's something like that. It's super white, like like it's like a Woodstock kind of thing. Um, you know, I forgot which one is in the desert. That's not Coachella. That's South by
Isn't that
Southwest.
Running Man or Burning
Burning
Man?
Man, another one of them things that I'm not gonna go to. So, but just seeing it, it's and you can look it up on TikTok if you guys are inclined. It's called Brokechella on TikTok, and it's people talking about the real version of Coachella. Uh, for me, I don't. For me, it's not relaxing going out and being inconvenienced. I used to tell people all the time. For me, I know people that their refuge is camping, right? They love to camp, and that's how they get away, and that's the camping. Being outside without the opportunity to go inside is not a vacation to me. That's stress. Like being outdoors, and there's no option for me to actually physically go indoors where there's air conditioning and plumbing. Um, that's not a vacation to me. That's not relaxing to me. That puts me on edge. And so for me, hey, we going camping, man. It's gonna go relax. It's good. Sounds we're gonna go up in the mountains and get away from everything and relax. It's like, man, that sounds awful to me. Like that doesn't sound like good. Do you if that makes you happy? Go knock yourself out and go lay on the ground in a tent somewhere outside. Me,
Right.
put me in a hotel or somewhere where there's indoor plumbing. cool. And then I can go outside if I want to and be outside. But when I say it's time to stop being outside, I can go inside somewhere. Like, that's relaxing to me. So anyway, it isn't what people imagine it to be. And oftentimes people are making plans around a fictional version of reality. There's a lot of people that saw their favorite influencer kicking it at Coachella and said, hey, this is what I want to go do. And then they get out there and like, wait, this ain't the same thing. Firefest. Remember Firefest?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Then people thought it was going to be one way.
Oh, man.
And they got them on Jailhouse eating cheese sandwiches and on jailhouse time and eating cheese sandwiches. You know?
Oh, my gosh. And then the dude, oh, man. Yeah, I remember. Oh, my God. That was so funny.
You know?
Oh, man. I know Ja Rule was like, bro, what are you doing out here?
Right. But a lot of people have what this expectation of things is going to be. And then you get there. It's like this. Listen, I've been to New York. My family out there, got family in Jersey or whatnot. My uncle, for my godfather, actually, for a long time, worked the subway that ran underneath the Twin Towers when they were still standing and stuff. And so when we went out there, he gave us the New York tourist experience, right? Listen, I'm here to tell you, the Statue of Liberty ain't shit. I've been in it. It looks great from the ground. You looking at it, you see it on TV, all that looks amazing. You get in there, and it's nothing but morning breath. Somebody's sweating, somebody's having stress sweat next to you because they're claustrophobic. And then you go up, you walk up all these stairs, shoulder to shoulder, and then look out over the crowd. You can barely see anything. It looks like a blur of sky and ground and stuff like that. And then you walk back down. But if you've never been, it sounds dope until you do it. And it's like, it's cool. I did it. It's dope that I did it, but it wasn't what I planned it to be. I thought it was going to be magical. And it was just like, man, this person farted, man. It stinks in here, bro. So anyway, long story short, oftentimes our plans don't align with what reality is. And here's the thing. The best plans are the ones that can survive crashing into reality. If they can survive crashing into reality, then you have some pretty solid damn plans. But that doesn't mean that's where it needs to end. Just because they crash into reality and survive doesn't mean that you don't need to make alterations to those plans along the way. You don't need to adjust them.
You know, I like what you wrote here. Plans are built in controlled environments.
Mm-hmm.
Reality is not controlled.
Right.
And I think that sums that up right there.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I think that sums it up.
Yeah. If you've ever done residential, if you ever worked residential, you know exactly what the hell that's about. Because you can train and role play and execute and do all this other stuff. And then the thing happens and everybody's just trying to make do and survive the best way they can with minimal damage to everybody involved. That's how life goes. So let's talk about the first failure point. What is the first failure point? What does that, more times than not, it's going to look different from every single plan. Sometimes it's the first obstacle. Sometimes it's the unforeseen thing that all of a sudden saps all your resources and energy, right? How do you survive that?
So here's the thing. I think that the first failure point, I think it ties back into number 3 with reality, with your plan meeting reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, plans are built in controlled environments, right? But this is where the rubber meets the road, if that makes any sense, because now you can see where your plan is versus how it stacks up to reality.
Right.
Here's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do with this? You know? Here it is. Now what?
Right.
And that's your question. That's where you're at with it.
Everybody hyped you up about your business idea. And they told you it's $1 million idea. and you went ahead and opened your doors, and for the first couple of weeks, ain't nobody show up. Now what? What's the plan?
That part.
What are you going to do? What are you prepared to do at this point? And I think a lot of times people get so blasted by that first thing that's where the rest of everything else collapses. Because, well, I don't know what to do now. The plan fell apart. So now, I don't know.
Mhm.
That first month when, the first month after things slow down and things start getting tight, you know, or I've experienced this, the first super successful month you have, and then you realize that in order to survive, you're going to have more of those more of those previously record-breaking months, because you have other expenses that came along with your success.
That part.
I've hit that. I've experienced that one.
Mm-hmm.
And now we got to figure out now we got to make a plan to adjust for the plan that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So, and people interpret it as the plan was wrong. That's not what the case is. You planned based on what you knew best. And oftentimes I think people get too jammed up in that. Like, you planned on, you made the best plan that you could make based on your information.
Mm-hmm.
Based on limited information. But it got you to this point. So now what?
Right. So I was trying to look to see if I'd seen. I think it's probably somewhere else. I think it's probably what I like to call the god of the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like to call certain stuff, especially when you don't know information.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't know, but sometimes you don't know that you don't know either, and sometimes you do know that you don't know something. So the objective is to either find somebody else who does know, or you're gonna have to take a crash course in figuring that shit out.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, Google and chat can sometimes be your best friend.
Yeah, that's that Dunning-Kruger thing. We talked about it. Why you don't find, like, and I had this, matter of fact, I said this on my live stream. Somebody tried to argue with me about this last week. Oh, I got to tell you about this one, Fearless. So I'm doing my live stream on Tuesday and just kind of chatting it up. I got a couple people in the chat and we're having a good time and whatnot. And this dude jumps on there and he's like, and I could barely understand what he typed, but it was something about, what do you think about what's your take on this Trump thing? Some specific policy. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really like it. How about you do a voice chat and we can debate it? No. And then it spiraled into a whole sideways thing. And it took my show off the rails, but this dude was bound and determined that he was going to try to argue with me about this thing and debate with me. And it got me on this thing. Debates aren't won by the person that's most informed. Debates aren't won by the person that's most factually correct.
No.
Debates are won by the person who puts on the best performance. And you could be 100% wrong and still perform better than the person that's 100% right. Because oftentimes when you're encountering somebody who knows more than you do about a subject, and if it's a vast amount of knowledge that they have compared to your limited amount of knowledge, they may be a little bit more halting in their speech. They may halt a little bit more. They may stop and consider things. They may have to look things up just because they know where the edges of their knowledge are, whereas you do not. And that's the thing. The God of the gap.
And not only that though, but I can spew out 15 different bullshit, whatever. And you might be like, no. And by the time you debunk the first 3, I done already moved to 15, 16, 17. So as you're debunking this one over here, I'm way over here. And then you're like, well, you said and this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, I'm talking about this up here. Why you over? Why you even over there? That conversation's been done. So it takes more time to sift through a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. It takes more time to correct a lie than present the truth.
That's called a Gish Gallop. A Gish Gallop is where you just blitz somebody with dubious point after dubious point after dubious point after dubious point, and expect them to answer it. And if they fumble on any one of those answers, you latch onto that and use that to try to discredit everything else they say. And that's kind of what that is. It's a blitz. It's a rhetorical thing. And I think people don't understand debating is a rhetorical contest, not a fact-based contest. It's about whether I can present, whether I can get up here and sound better and perform better than you can. That's all it is. I wonder if some of the greatest events are less exciting than what the textbooks say. Absolutely. Absolutely. There have been plenty of times where I've experienced something that I thought was going to be amazing and like, this ain't shit. This ain't this ain't where it's at. But the textbooks, in order to tell a compelling story and a compelling narrative in the textbooks, the textbooks still are narrative devices. They still have stories within them. You still have to capture somebody's imagination. So there's an element of narrative that goes into it. And so they got to sell it as more interesting than it actually needs to be.
Oh. Okay.
So, but yeah. This dude,
start yours.
All right, you're already done?
Go ahead.
So,
all right, cool. I was just having lunch.
So the thing is, hey Anya, how you doing?
She's about to start her podcast now.
Okay. The thing about it is, like I said, this dude was demanding that he wanted me to get on a voice chat because he's trying to turn me into like Dean Withers and all those other dudes that they have their TikTok channels and people call in and they'll sit there and argue with them. I'm not doing all that. Why? For what? So we can perform, and then we could sit on there and perform. I give you my audience and the people I'm talking to so that you can get up there and perform in front of whatever. I'm not doing all that stuff because I know what public debate actually is. I've done debate. I was in debate club. I was a debate student. I understand how this thing works. And the shit you see online ain't no debate. That's just two people arguing. That's two people arguing. And so yeah, let me go. Where were we at? Because we got off on this, but okay. But yeah, so we run into reality. People interpreted out the plan was wrong. I'm not ready. This won't work. Instead of this is where I start to adapt.
That's what I was saying before. Like sometimes, man, you have to ask yourself a very simple question, and you have to take a minimalist approach to some of this stuff in trial and error. And that minimalist approach is, what can I do right here, right now to get started? Or if I only had 1 week to get started, how do I do that? You see what I'm saying? That's it. When the bookstore got started, I just set a date and we had to meet that deadline, period. And then, I got Diana involved and the city got involved, and at 10:30 in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, we opened and boom. That's it.
Yeah. And you had to adjust a lot of things midstream. A lot of things.
You really did. Yeah, what's gonna work? What's not gonna work? How do you check for this? How do you check for that? How do you scan items? You know what I mean? So again, I know that when I started a lot of that stuff, for me it was fail as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a book type manager and I wanted to see how it worked. So I would mess up as much as I could constantly. I screw up on this, I screw up on that, just so I can fix whatever problems would occur. You know?
Yeah.
So that's how it works sometimes, man.
Like I was sitting there, um one of my favorite books is The Stand by Stephen King, right? And I was reading the behind the scenes talk about writing it. And like, cause that book is for him is kind of one of his longish kind of books. Um, but he got halfway through the book and he's writing it and he's really invested in these characters and everything. And he finally had to, because he had a completely different ending to that book planned out. But as he's midstream writing it, he ended up saying, man, I started telling stories with all these different characters, and this is not going in, the story's not going in the direction where I needed to resolve. And so that's where he planned on blowing up half of his cast and killing them. And that's what he did.
Oh, really?
He blew up half of his cast. Spoilers, sorry. Blew up half of his cast. And told the rest of the story because it was going in a direction that he didn't want it to go. Even though he loved it and he loved the characters that he built. He's like, they are extras and they have to go. And he cut it to the bone. And he's like, all right, blew them up. Now we're on to the next part of the story. And that's what, I mean, he had to adjust midstream. And he was pretty meticulous in planning his stuff out. But even he makes those adjustments to what it's what it needs to be. And I think oftentimes, when you're a writer, they say sometimes you got to kill your baby. Sometimes you have to kill the characters you love the most because they're weight in the story, they're anchors in the story doesn't need right now.
Got it.
And I think we sometimes we don't apply that to real life. Sometimes the thing that you thought was going to happen isn't going to happen. And so you need to cut out the thing that you were planning on and pivot into something new or pivot in a different direction. Start adapting.
Right.
Adapt
which technically brings us to our fifth thing or whatever principle, which is adaptation versus abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference between it. Adjusting the plan, quitting the plan. Adaptation means change the approach, reevaluate assumptions, continuing momentum. And then abandonment comes from frustration, ego, loss of confidence. So do you adjust or do you stop?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, sometimes you may have to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you may have to stop.
Yeah.
Or you may have to change venues. It's just like if you're selling tapes or whatever, you probably should talk to people who buy tapes,
right,
who are interested in that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Which there are some people that will buy tapes. It still happens.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people that buy CDs. It happens. So again, you want to market your stuff to those individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you market it to somebody like me? I'm good. No, I'm cool.
You could have the best burgers in the world, but if you put your burger joint in a place that is surrounded on all sides by a colony of vegans, you setting yourself up to fail. And unless you have some very ingenious marketing or you have some psychology on the population of people that you're serving, because some people are only vegans when they're around other people.
Hey, you might be like, you know what I'm saying? We'll sneak it to you.
Yeah.
You buy it now, we'll sneak it to you.
I read that phenomenon where they'll have like the people that are vegans and into that lifestyle. They will go to these colonies, go to these gatherings or whatnot, And everybody is trying to hide the fact that they ain't 100% vegan from the other person. And so they sneak off and have their cheat meals or whatnot. And like everybody is scared that everybody else is going to find out, but everybody is doing it.
Right.
But you have to plan. Like you could have the best idea in the world, but if there's parts of the execution that will prevent you from succeeding, you either got to scrap those or scrap the plan. I put the best burger joint in the world right next to this community full of people that are disproportionately vegan. It may work. You may be in a blue ocean. You may be in a blue ocean. Like you're the only non-vegan option. You may be killing it.
Right.
But you're not going to know until you test out the market, because the market could tell you something completely different. Oftentimes I saw this dude talking about it. He said more times than not, when we're sitting down in the initial stages of planning a business, right? We sit and look and see how many competitors we have. And if we have too many competitors in the space, we run away from the business. It's like for me as an investor who's made billions of dollars starting businesses and stuff like that, if I have a lot of competition, that proves that business can work and there's an audience for that business. I need to find who that specific audience is that I can extract from the bigger audience. He's like, because not everybody goes to the same restaurants, not everybody goes to the same oil change places, not everybody goes to the same tire store to buy tires, or same grocery store. Some people like different places for different reasons. You got to find that reason to tap into it and find your difference. Just because there's a lot of competitors, that doesn't mean that you can't survive there. You just got to find the people that are going to do business with you. It's a different way of thinking about it. But if you plan from the beginning, say, oh, there's too many competitors in the space, there's 1,000 other people doing the same thing, I'm not going to do it now. You might have missed your opportunity because the plan didn't align.
Because it didn't align. The other thing, too, is frustration, ego, and lots of confidence. And that lots of confidence is sometimes, again, planning for something and holding on so tightly to that plan that when it doesn't work, you're attached to the outcome of that plan.
Yeah.
That is holding on to something that you wrote in pen that should have been in pencil.
Yep. I like that phrase.
Like, nah, man, it's not going to work. And that's where you get that loss of confidence. And that's nothing more than your ego telling you, well, you know that this is going to work. And if it doesn't work, it's because of them. No, if it doesn't work, it's because of you.
Yeah.
Or they're just not interested in what you're selling. Or you're selling it, you're trying to sell it to the wrong people.
There's a lot of that going on. And I think
which leads to frustration. So you either adjust or stop.
And if it's not right, sometimes there's nothing wrong with stopping. Planets didn't align, the thing didn't stop. And I think people get too jammed up in that side of it. What's the lesson we can depart with from this thing that I tried and didn't work? And is it worth making the adjustment? Because sometimes it's not worth making the adjustment.
Sometimes it's not. Yeah.
So, there's been plenty of times, like, because now we've talked about our examples. I've had plenty of examples where I started a service that it didn't go the way I thought it was. But one of the biggest ones that the thing that will punk you out faster than anything else and will get you off of your square faster than anything else is being a parent. Ideas you had about raising kids before you actually started raising kids.
Right.
I'd never do that. I would never say that. There are red lines that I have where I'm like, nope, that's never going to happen. But then there are others that are a little like purple lines where it's like, contextually, this might go this way. And I think nothing gets you off your square faster than being a parent.
No.
Because you have preconceived ideas about what this thing is going to look like. and your baby will completely dispel all of that stuff.
Mhm.
The vast majority of startups fail. Yeah, and the vast majority of startups fail, but there's also people that have multiple failed startups and finally land on the one that works.
Yep.
And the lessons were in the startups that didn't make it, the times the attempts that they didn't execute on. They got lessons from that to learn what to do and what not to do. Because sometimes the startup idea is solid. It's just not the right time. It's not the right market. You may be ahead of your time. You may be a step too late, but you learn the lessons from each subsequent failure and add those to your battery of knowledge. And then you roll the dice again.
And I would also say too that I think that when you get a lot of people who are goaded
Mm-hmm.
to chasing their dreams. And sometimes your dream, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sometimes that's not your lane. So it might be your hobby,
Yep.
but it's not going to be that thing that sends you off. It may be something that's so obscure, that's so ambiguous,
Yeah.
that you don't even recognize just how successful this thing is. And it's something that you don't even give a shit about. That might be that thing that sets you apart from everybody else. It's just like the guy that it was some farmer that was selling something, and I think it was like slop or some shit like that
Mm-hmm.
to pigs or to other farmers or whatever, and got extremely wealthy for doing it. And he was like, "This ain't my dream.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think, oh my God, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life." Dude was like, I started making some money with it, and then I made some more, then I made some more, and I just stuck with it. That's it.
I saw.
And the issue is that we, like I said, are so engulfed with thinking and believing that you got to find your passion, your purpose. But again, there's nothing wrong with finding it. It just may not make you any money.
Yeah. And the thing is, the thing that makes you the money is the thing that allows you to pursue your passion the way that you want to. I know I saw this guy, he mentioned it. He sells railings for stairs. That's what he sells.
He says what?
Railings, like banisters and railings.
Yeah.
He's not in love with the idea, but he's like, this is just where my business took me. I just, this is what sells, and so this is what I'm doing. But that business gives him a level of independence where he can go chase the things that he likes to do.
Right.
But I also think that sometimes you may not have the right delivery vehicle for the thing that's your dream.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen too many people sink their life savings to a business idea. When I give them the stats of how the money would have multiplied in ETF, they're shocked, had no clue, and regret it, as well they should. Or, like, if you did that for me, I'd have been like, yeah, okay. Like, everybody's it's gonna hit different for other people.
Yeah.
For some people, that level of investment is actually worth the experience, and for other people, their risk tolerance don't align with that. And
yeah.
What works for you may not work for me. The idea, like for some people, that will be discouraging. I've seen people drop entire life savings on something that everybody else thought was a pipe dream and end up making a second career in life for themselves that was better than the one they experienced. I know one of my mentors actually did that. We had an entire fully successful career, retired from it, took his nest egg and rolled the dice on a franchise. And he retired from that with more money than he had in his retirement when he first started. So it does, like, it's everybody's going to have different things that motivate them. But I get where you're going with it. The point is to make money. They must get their ego out of it and make a rational decision. Oh, sorry, Fearless.
I know. No, it's all good.
They must get their ego out of it. All right, so this comes from this. I'll put on my behavioral list, and Fearless, you can jump in here with this one. Okay. One of the first things you learn in the principles of behavior is everybody has different motivators, right? And so when you're going through the ABCs, antecedent behavior consequence of behavior modification, one of the things you realize is I have to find the thing that motivates the person in order to motivate them and either give them access to it or remove access from it, right? And so if I had a kid in my house that was motivated by Snickers but hated Milky Way bars, as you should, me giving him Milky Way bars to do a task isn't going to motivate him the same way giving him a Snickers bar will. But then there's another kid that loves the Milky Way bars. So I have to provide him with the Milky Way bars and either provide him access to it or remove the access from it to get the kind of behavior that I want to see. And as he starts doing the behavior, it ends up becoming generalized to his normal skill set. And then I can start removing the thing that motivates him to do it. And now he's doing it just because that's what he normally does. But the same thing works with money. I had staff that were not motivated by raises, but I had staff that were motivated by how many people they could help or being in a decision-making capacity so they could affect lives. Yeah, status as opposed to money. I took a pay cut to take a promotion because I wanted to move up into a different job. I wasn't motivated by the money as much. I took the pay cut, a temporary pay cut, so that I could learn what I needed to do to move up to the position I wanted to be in. And I didn't want to be in that seat because it was money.
I mean, but I do get what you're saying,
Yeah.
Liberty Switcher. I get that.
Yeah.
Because that's why you put the capital if.
Yeah.
If it's about money.
Yeah.
And I mean, like for myself, even being in school, it's not about like trying to get a job because I'm not working for somebody else once I'm done. I see a problem. I'm going to try to fix that problem that I see in the world. That is it. If there's a job out there specifically for it, great. I don't think it's going to be for me, but I'm also not turning down anything. If I can, I'm not. But if it works, then it works. But what I would like to do is do something kind of that's more adjacent to what I think and what I believe in. You know? Now, can it make money? Oh my God, yes. Very much so. My objective is to put that stuff on display and go have some fun with it. That's what I plan to do. If it makes money, great. But I'd rather make more of an impact than let me rephrase that. If I make a bunch of money, it wouldn't be for me. It'd be for my kid. For when I'm gone. You know what I mean? So for me, when I think about his future or whatever, yes, then I think about money for him. But for me, I have enough. Money, I have enough. Shit that I have to do. I love the hobbies that I have. I mean, I love to read. That's my thing. So, I mean, shit, if anything, I'll stack up more degrees. Yeah. I'll do that. But as far as anything else, I'm cool. I mean, I would make more money to consistently keep putting myself to school. I would do it for that. Like, even in like, when people are like, you know, would you ever go on vacation? I'd love to go visit bookstores, to go to different libraries, to kind of see what everybody else is doing. I would do that. But just to be going, right. Nah, not really. Not my thing.
Well, and the idea, like for a lot of people, like for me, I run a nonprofit, right? The reason why I want to make more money is so I can generate more of an impact. I don't like the more money allows me to have a bigger impact. But
For sure.
when I was taking that, when I was on that pathway in human services, taking pay cuts to move up the ladder, um, the money wasn't a reward. Like even the pay raise wasn't enough of a reward um in terms of earning potential, because specifically in when you're working with kids and families and broken and people that have different aspects of life that are broken for them, um there is like you top out in low six figures, and I'm talking about low six figures in
Right.
that role, even sitting in an executive seat in that world. You top out like your top potential, even as somebody who has executive management, executive level experience, you top out in the six figures, low six figures. And there are people that are coming out of college that are making more than you are, but you're not in that seat because the money is good or better than other things. You're in that seat
Mm,
because you're mission driven. It's a mission
right.
driven. And here's the thing. I've seen the bullshit that Fortune 500 companies try to run down on people where they're like, we're a mission driven organization. Oh, fuck, you aren't. Everybody who's there is competing to sit in the CEO, CFO, CMO seat. Everybody there is looking to do that. The only person it's a mission for is the CEO, CFO, or CMO.
You know the funny thing is with that is I have a book, and the book is about mission statements,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to get the latest ones or whatever, but it's so good because a person's mission statement, a value statement, whatever, tells you what the company does, its objective in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot what company. It was a big company, and it said straight up off the bungee, its objective is to its objective was to its stockholders. Period. Then
Yep.
everything else came after that. I was like, damn. They came out the. I think it was ConAgra.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I think it was ConAgra. I'm pretty sure it was actually.
That might have been it, because that would have justified how they ended up leaving Omaha as yeah, because people were really upset about it, because it's like Omaha gave y'all everything and
Yep.
y'all walked, and they're like, nope, our mission, our accountabilities to our shareholders,
Yes.
you
Yep.
know.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna try to find that because I'm pretty sure that's who said it.
That makes sense. Yeah. And it's one of those things, guys. It's one of those things where it sounds good on paper, you know, but at some point, because here's the thing, it's one thing to have that mantra and carry that forward, but for your employees, you're also creating a staff of disloyal employees. When the company's not loyal to the people, and it's kind of it's written in plain English, you're not going to have employees that are loyal to you. And I think that's the dichotomy that we run into in the corporate culture that we're in, where there's this expectation that I paid you good money, you're supposed to be loyal to me. And people are like, yeah, but if I left tomorrow, you would fill my seat with 3 other people. And I would be forgotten. If I dropped dead tomorrow, you would have my replacement in this seat within 5 days. And I think that's the dichotomy where, yeah, it turns you into a mercenary a lot of times, especially, you know, when you're in the tech space, or even, you know, in competitive fields. You can have I was in competitive fields in social media. Like, it was competitive.
Right.
People are jockeying for position to get those bigger seats or whatnot. But the idea that people are supposed to be loyal to the corporation, but the corporation has no obligation to be loyal to the employees. That's the dichotomy. And I think that's telling of how we view work. All right.
Right here. So here it is. ConAgra brand's mission is to nourish people, the planet, and our communities as a leading branded food company, they focus on producing safe, delicious, and nutritious food while fostering an exclusive entrepreneurial culture, investing in employees and communities, and driving shareholder value through innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, boom. Like, this is what we do.
Yep.
Like, like what?
Yeah, and
Like
a lot
what?
of times that's kind of code for, we do a lot of stock buybacks. We get kickbacks from the government, and then we take that and buy back our own stock to drive our price through the roof, and then our shareholders get the benefit of it. But really, we're selling them smoke, because if anything ever forces us to prove what our valuation is, all of this shit's going to collapse.
Right.
So it is what it is. But again, their motivation isn't to serve, it's to make money, which is fine if that's what you're driven by. And I think one of the things that we struggle with in the society is recognizing that not everybody has the same motivations, or even driven by money to the same degree. I think I got to look it up, but there is a behavioral health, there is a cognitive science thing where there's a certain amount of money that's kind of your threshold for your happiness. Once you hit that,
75,000.
Yep. Once you hit that, more or less, that's, your happiness doesn't shift away from that.
75,000.
And it's going to vary for people, but understand there are break points for every person. At some point, you're going to make enough money that you're relatively satiated, and it's not going to improve your happiness much.
No.
And it's not a universal thing.
No.
All right, where are we at? Thanks, Liberty. If you got anything else, jump in here, man. Let's see. Plans falling apart. What you thought would happen, what actually happened. Your plan falling apart is where the learning is. That's where your learning resides. When the plan doesn't go the way that you wanted it to go, that's where the learning comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too frequently, that's where we want to stop learning and pivot away. Not look at the ugly thing, not look at the scars, and learn the lessons from the scars.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's uncomfortable. You don't want to look at it. Okay. So that plays into the role of trial and error. That's what this show is. That's why we talk about it. That's why this is the topic.
Right.
Plans are untested. Plans are sexy until we actually get them out under once we turn on the house lights. That's what we're trying to do. The plan looks good, looks great, it's attractive. Ooh, I think I could spend my life in this plan. And then the house lights come on. You're like, oh,
right. And that chick you've been dancing with,
yeah,
was awfully manly.
Yeah, or you notice that there's something that just is just like, I don't know. You didn't see that blotch on her neck or whatever. And so it is one of those things where you didn't see that one tooth, that one tooth that's bothering
Right.
you. And so the house lights come on, and the plans, you get to see the plan for what it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think we put too much stakes on a plan collapsing and falling apart, not enough on the lesson. And then I'm be a broken record on that.
Okay.
So let's get into because I think we're getting close to wrapping it up. Let's talk about over planning as the defense mechanism real quick.
Got it.
I've lived there, I've been there. And this year, the last couple of years, has been the execution piece, where a lot of times I will run with a plan before I have it fleshed out. I just need to test it. I need to test and get data. And it's not easy. That hasn't been easy for me to do. That's not a comfortable place for me, but it's a place I have to live in.
Okay.
Because me getting whether people are going to mess with this thing, whether they're interested in this thing, they're going to buy this thing, that determines whether I'm going to continue on with the thing or if I need to take it back and pull pieces off of it or whatever. Case in point, right now, I'm running an ad for a business. And and the ad is doing well, but the conversions are not. And the lesson I'm getting from that is, okay, I have to change where they're going. I have to change the place they're landing on, the landing page, in order to get the conversions I want. And so I've redone a couple of sales funnels and whatnot. And today I'm linking up the one I created to test out. Okay, so this didn't work. Let's see what happens with this. But if I would have sat there and tried to over deliberate the front end of it, I would have never launched the ad in the first place. I never put the money up for it. But I'm putting the money up to get the data. Sometimes you got to do it. That's what you got to do. But over planning, some people get too comfortable in the planning because it's fun using your imagination. It's safe up here. Up here is safer than the real world. You can talk all kinds of shit up here, but until it comes out here to the person that you're talking shit about, it don't mean anything. And I think people get too caught up here. And they plan excessively to avoid the embarrassment or the failure or the uncertainty. It makes it feel like progress. So, because the feedback is the most important thing. Like the feedback from the market, and if you're a business owner, you know this. Getting the feedback from the market's the most important thing. And sometimes people ignore the signals the market is giving them. You know, the service that everybody's paying for is a service that the business likes the least or markets the least. And instead of saying, "Hey, we need to change what we're marketing," they want to continue to market the thing that they want to sell and still not lean into the thing that's actually working or the thing that's driving business. It absolutely delays all that stuff. It puts a gap in between the event and the consequence, and they don't want to look at the consequences. They rather just continue on chugging along. So that's where over planning gets. Yeah. So Fearless, what do you have about balancing the preparation with that side of it? Because there is a balance, like just flying off half-cocked and not having a real plan of executing things. That's not a strategy for success either.
Okay, say it one more time, sir.
Where do you find the balance between planning and executing? Like, how do you, because you can't just go in with no plan whatsoever. Because sometimes you're going with no plan whatsoever and you don't even have a starting point to adjust to the roadblocks that things throw at you, the curveballs that get thrown at you. So where do you strike? How do you strike the balance? However you hit that balance?
So for myself, again, man, I kind of break everything down into small doable parts.
Okay.
You know, pros and cons. Can I do this or can I not? What can I do right now? You know?
Yep.
And then dude, I'm infamous for making lists constantly. I'm infamous for writing stuff out all the time. I don't like it in my head. I need to see it.
Right.
Once I can see it, then I can do something about it. If I can't see it, man, I don't like that. I like to be able to see what I'm doing. So if I make a plan, there I need to see that plan. So then I can mark it off, you know. I can write what worked, what didn't, what did I try, how many times did I try it, did I call anybody, did I ask chat, did I do any of the stuff that chat suggested that I do? That's what I do. Okay. That's how I find that proverbial balance, if you will.
Okay. I like that. I've seen the one I've seen was that Louis C.K. was talking about it. He's like, if I'm 60% sure of something, that's when I go with it. It's not going to get any better than that.
I'm like 70. I'm more of a 70 guy. 70%. As long as I'm at 70 jump. Even with my assignments, they don't have to be perfect. 70% is what I'm giving you.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, send it out.
Right is the enemy of done.
Like, yeah, I'm my teacher, my professors will tell you as soon as they submit, as soon as they open up the assignment for the week, assume mine will be done within the next few hours.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, if I got 3 assignments, I'll knock this one out, knock that one out. I have one more in comp or whatever, and then that's it. I asked chat because I'll need some help with what are they asking for? What does he want me to do? Try to give me any instructions like this is all you need to do. Perfect. I write myself out. Or I talk myself out. Talk myself, talk my stuff out, and then fix it as I go.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do. That's how I write my papers so fast. I don't sit around like, let me think what I want. I just start typing. Or I start talking and something will magically appear.
Right.
And then I'll go back and fix it up.
I like that. I think, and it goes into what we're talking. It goes into the balancing the thing, because the thing is, you still want to look at obvious risks, like things that are obvious risks, like, you know what I'm saying, I'm out in the woods. Are these wolves going to tear me apart? That is an obvious risk that I need to plan for, right? Like I can't wander in knowing that I'm walking into wolf infested woods, right? And so sometimes I go with the skeleton of it. So more times than not, if I'm doing a live stream or something, I don't have scripts. I have an outline of things I generally want to talk about, kind of
Okay.
like a general idea of conversation things
Yeah,
to
for
kind of
sure.
control the flow of it, to give a skeleton. And then I have a structure, but then I also have the flexibility to abandon topics or say, we're going to archive this one. We'll come back to this one, save this for next week. And that's how I flow. And I think for me, having an outline has been the best thing. I used to get in trouble in my speech class because I didn't want to script out my entire speech.
Yeah, me neither. I don't like it.
Give me bullet
Like
points.
I'm starting to understand why it works though.
Mhm.
Because if you write it out and then you use these cards to kind of like, and again, that's what practicing is.
Mhm.
Practice, 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 practice. And once you get that practice down enough, it's like, okay. And then you're able to give a speech without looking at your cards. And if you go off topic, it's okay because you know where you stopped
Mhm.
and where to go at.
So the thing that got me off of writing scripts for speech, and this was kind of my defiance. Like I do have a defiance streak. I have a really strong defiance streak. When I was in college, I had a speech teacher, and I wrote this entire thing out. I had all these written examples and everything, and it was kind of debating something she had said in class, where she's like, "I think Martin Luther King was a better orator than Malcolm X," and I said, "I don't agree." So I ended up making that a speech topic. And she ended up giving me a C on it just because she didn't agree with my point. But I laid out,
Well, what was your point?
my thesis was for what what America needed at the time. I felt like both had their strengths, right? For those that were tied and more influenced by the organization of the Black church, and were used to going to hear reverends speak, and used to the cadence and flow of a reverend, right? Martin Luther King was super effective. For the Black folks that weren't in church like that, and were different, like they didn't go to church on Sundays, they didn't do all that stuff. Malcolm X was a more direct. He didn't lean into the imagery and stuff that MLK kind of evoked in his earlier speeches. Now, some of the other ones, like we're coming to get our check, that kind of thing, the white moderate speech was a lot more direct. That was later on in his career. Malcolm X's speech and pattern was more direct, and it connected with people that Black folks that weren't in the church like that, more street level. Not even that, the people that came from where he kind of came from. And so that was my contention. I said, I think for a person like me who I didn't come up in the black church the same way that some of my family did, Malcolm X's speech is like he was a more effective orator to me.
Right. I mean, but they were also talking to two different type of people too.
That's what I'm saying. And so
saying, like, talking to your Christian base, and not just Christian base, you're talking about morality of man and practicing nonviolence and practicing love instead of this, that, and the other. Whereas Malcolm was like, you put your hands on me, we're going to have a problem. And so he was also talking to those other individuals who felt downtrodden, disrespected in their own country by their own countrymen, where the sense of morality, the sense of ethics, the sense of right and wrong with them does not exist.
Yeah.
Stay in your place, but get out of it. Stay in your place and let me do whatever I want to you. Whereas King and them is like, we'll stay in our place, but damn it, we're gonna love you no matter what. Malcolm was like, no, I'm not doing that.
There's a book, and I gotta remember what book it is, Fearless. But there's a book with somebody who was there, kind of in between, and so they kind of had an unofficial agreement where they understood that they were talking to different audiences, and so they were mutual respect, but they were sowing the seeds for collaboration in the future. But they knew now wasn't the time. They're speaking to two uniquely different audiences within the same struggle, and so he is a guy who knew both of them and was kind of there in the kind of phone calls and letters and stuff where they're kind of sharing ideas. And because here's the thing, people think that, and I throw it out there, people think that the nonviolence thing, that was a strategy. That was a strategy. If you fell up in MLK's house when he's not out on the march and everything, you might get shot. And people have mentioned that he had guns. He had his arsenal. They had the nonviolent side of things. There were armed, like there were lots of black groups that were armed that provided security for the marchers when it wasn't like a big, huge stage or anything, like when they're in the smaller towns or whatnot, where they weren't getting the same level of media attention, and in regular personal life. Like they were armed, they would hire black folks who were armed to kind of protect their key figures. One of the things that got Medgar Evers in trouble was, and We Will Shoot Back. Medgar Evers was more aligned with the Mau Mau resistance than anything else. And so his cohorts in the NAACP.
Yeah, and Mau Mau, they were that. They were something different.
He was spiritually, he was aligned, and they said he was fascinated. He was more in regular conversation. He was more aligned with the Mau Maus than what the NAACP was doing. But it also got him into trouble when he espoused his ideas, because there were agents within the NAACP that actually talked to the feds,
for sure,
and backed him off of it. But he wasn't about unarmed resistance either. He had to publicly be that. But and so that's what I'm going to, where there was a
Mau was we can't just hit that and move on.
Okay.
Mau Mau was a force that they're scorched earth Africans. Scorched earth. But again, though, it wasn't like they were just doing that to be doing it. They were messed with by the British.
Yeah.
British came, them dudes tore their asses up.
Yeah.
Left, gathered their stuff, came back. And the things that they did back to the Mau Mau.
Yeah. And other people. There are people
horrible.
There on Twitter when Queen Elizabeth died, there are people who, I think was it Kenya? I'm trying to remember the exact countries, that they were descendants, and they're like, my grandma still lived through what the British did. And she tells me every single day some of the stuff they used to do to the regular citizenry. And it was awful. And it's one of those things in history that gets looked over. But it was daily torture, people getting mutilated, you know, concentration camps where people were starved to death and stuff like that. And some of the survivors were still alive from that. But the Mau Mau, like he was aligned with the Mau Mau's, and that's kind of what he wanted. That was the politic that he wanted to roll with, but he wasn't in the position to actually do it. And I think one of the dichotomies is a kind of a false dichotomy where people think that Malcolm and Martin were on polar opposite ends of it. They were just speaking to different audiences and they collaborated behind the scenes. If I can find the book, I'll send it to you, Fearless.
Please do.
Because it was notes from somebody who was there with both of them. But it is one of those things where that entire speech, that specific interaction in that speech class, and I don't know why it turned me against having written out like scripted segments, but instantly in my teenage brain, because I was like 19 years old, my teenage brain said, fuck this. I'm not doing no more. I'm not writing out any scripts. I'm just doing outlines straight up.
Yeah, I love an outline. I love a good outline, man.
So flexibility is important. It's necessary when conditions change, but you cannot just wander it. We're not saying don't ever have a plan. That is not the crux of what we're saying. We're saying have a plan. Have a plan and write it in pencil. Be ready to adjust on a moment's notice, and adjust to the situations that you have. Like I could leave my house without a coat and say I'm planning on it not raining, but if it rains, I'm still going to get rained on. Just because I planned on the thing happening doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. I need to leave the flexibility, like I'm gonna put my coat in my car, right? And I think a lot of people they end up getting into the zero-sum game when it comes to all right. So hey guys, if you guys got any other takes about planning for eventualities and maybe some ideas, some examples of when a plan didn't work out, drop them in the comments. Let us know. And we'll respond to them. But share it with the fam and let us know times where a plan didn't work out and you had to adjust on the fly. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say.
Indeed.
But to wrap it up, conclude, there is no such thing as a perfect plan. They're starting, adjusting, and continuing. Okay. The plan isn't the thing that's going to get you to the finish line. It's how well you can adapt. That's all I got.
That's it. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more to say on that, dude.
All right.
Continuing. That's it.
So, you Fearless, you have anything to sign off with?
Nope.
All right. Come check me out at the media room. You could see the link. I'll put it up on the screen. If you're looking to start learning video, you want to learn the process, you want to sit down and figure out the best media strategy for your business or whatnot, holler at your boy. That's what I do. I'm wrapping up doing a workshop to onboard some clients to teach his staff how to record stuff and record themselves to drive business, and I can do the same for you. So if you're interested, hit me up. You're going to see it up there, and you can always go to iswmediaroom.com. So anyway, that's all I got. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Talk to y'all later.